Hey guys, I'm guessing if you're finding this video on YouTube, you probably have some issues with vertigo, dizziness, or all the above. Um, so just a real quick disclaimer, anything I say on here, it's not really medical advice or anything. I'm just going to give my own personal testimony, so to speak, and just kind of walk through what my journey has been with vestibular disorders. So just to kind of start it off, get the ball rolling. For me, it all started a few months back. I was going down to a lake, and I get there, and I go to bed, and everything's fine, and I wake up with this aura, this disorientation, this dizziness. It wasn't classic vertigo where everything is spinning out of control and you're vomiting and all of that. This was more an internal disconnect, so almost like a dizziness that's swaying off kilter. You're kind of just disconnected, and it's super annoying. It feels like there's a hand in your brain just kind of like rocking you back and forth, and you can't really control it, and it drives you up the wall. So this was my introduction to what I would later find out would be vestibular neuritis. So just before I continue on with the story, there's like MDDS, vestibular neuritis, vestibular migraine, labyrinthitis, all these different itises and migraines. And basically the bottom line is a lot of them characterize the same symptoms as far as dizziness, disorientation, numbness, pains, random, you'll even have sometimes random chills. It's the weirdest symptoms you will ever get, and it's debilitating completely, especially at onset when it first happens. You're just completely like, whoa, what is this? And a lot of people will just totally freak out, as they should, and they'll go to the ER with these symptoms that they can't explain, and they think that something's really, really wrong. So that's just the platform that you're working with this type of illness. So if that sounds like you, you're in the right place. So just getting back to my story with my experience. So I got back to my hometown, and I'm in the office, and it hasn't gone away. So I email my nurse practitioner, and she comes back and she's like, hey, it's probably fluid in your ear. Let's not freak out about it. You're good. Just, take some, I think she told me take Mucinex and drink a lot of water, and it'll go away. Well, I trusted her, and I was like, okay. And I even felt a little bit better because she said it was only fluid. I'm good to go. So I did that, and I was like, cool. 2 days later, still the same. And I'm starting to get a little bit more nervous at this point with the same symptoms, the aura, everything's kind of like swaying, internally disconnected. I can't quite get there where normal is. It was pretty severe, actually, at this point in time. It was pretty debilitating. I couldn't read screens. I couldn't look at anything without feeling just like this massive amount of like a mix between, it's not really pressure, but it kind of emulates pressure a little bit in the head. The symptoms are all over the place with this thing. So whatever you're feeling, odds are it's a part of it. So that's just a disclaimer there, what I was experiencing anyway. My face would go numb, my hand would go numb. I thought I had MS or something crazy, or a brain tumor or something really bad. So I kind of at this point was in freak out mode. The anxiety was really starting to churn, and I wasn't going to put up with it. So I looked online. I found an ear, nose, and throat through actually a friend had recommended to me this clinic. So I called up and I explained what I was going through, and they got me in pretty quickly, actually the following Monday. So I presented at the clinic, and I met with the ENT, and we kind of walked through what the possibilities could be. Anyway, so he thought it was going to be a labyrinthitis or neuritis right out the gate. He looked at me and he was like, I don't think this is PPPD. He did the eye test. I didn't have an nystagmus. It didn't really line up. So we continued on with the idea that, okay, it's a neuritis. So the neuritis, basically, my nerve inside my head became inflamed. That's kind of like what the neuritis does in your vestibular tract. And kind of it's back in there, and it'll become inflamed. And when it does, it's firing wrong. So everything that's going back and forth, the information is getting basically discombobulated, and your brain's kind of going crazy a little bit. because it's not a clear message coming across, which in turn causes the dizziness and that disconnected feeling. So I did the steroid that he put me on to clear it up, and it didn't really help. I didn't notice anything whatsoever as far as an improvement. At that point, I think the damage was already done as far as like the swelling of that nerve. And at that point, it was more of a salvage operation in my book of, okay, now what's next? How do I get rid of this constant dizziness that I have? I couldn't break it. I was dizzy for a month and a half solid straight, 24 hours a day. I couldn't break it. It was horrifying. I had, by the end of it, depression. I had so much anxiety. It was terrible. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. It was just so bad. So fast forward, I'm a few weeks into it at this point. I'm still dizzy. I'm trying to find answers. I come back. The doctor's like, okay, we're going to do some scans. So I got a CT scan. They stamped out anything really dangerous. So that was good. And he said all he really wanted to do at that time was a CT. He felt like that was enough and sufficient to see what he needed to see. And he ruled out my canals and my vestibular tract being sometimes they're not at the right size or they aren't operating right, so that can also lead to the dizziness and the vestibular issues that you're having can be canal related, and that's what the CT kind of stamped out. So that came back normal. Still dizzy. It was terrible, horrible. And I didn't really get a break until it was about, I would say, a month and a half in. I got my first break of, okay, like the symptoms died down. They were more in the background. I could definitely live life. I wasn't, in bed, just strapped to my bed, not doing anything. I started getting up. I started getting more active with my environment. From the get-go, I kind of knew I probably needed to stay active no matter how much I didn't want to. That's really important with this. You just have to stay active. The more you stay at your house and in bed, the longer this will take to pass. That's just the reality of the situation. So after I had kind of realized that, I started forcing myself to run in the morning. I started forcing myself to stay active with my environment, to put myself in those situations that would force me to be like, I have to, confront this environment and I have to deal with the dizziness. Really, in my own way, it was kind of like my own VRT therapy. I didn't know I was doing that at the time, but I was. So I go back to the doctor, and they want to do a vestibular testing type of thing. I'm not sure what it's called, but basically what they do is you go, you meet with the audiologist, and they have some other physical therapists, and they put you through all these tests, and they try to basically stamp out hearing damage, vestibular damage, to figure out if it's either centrally located, like the problem. So if it's like centrally located, that's going to be more of your vestibular migraine in your nervous system, versus if it's peripheral, that'd be more the vestibular canals and the vestibular area of your inner ear. So after doing all the tests, they saw a slight astigmatism on my left eye, which led them to go ahead and diagnose me more of a neuritis, so more peripheral, they thought the problem was. And it was more on my left side. Granted, vestibular migraine and neuritis have very similar symptoms that I've seen. I know if you look up the two, it will come up with a different definition, but the symptoms are real alike. I mean, they're very hard to distinguish between the two. So to this day, I could have vestibular migraine or neuritis. Sometimes you can even have vestibular neuritis trigger vestibular migraine, is what I've also seen. I'm hoping that's not me. Could be. In any case, fast forward to when the dizziness got a break. I finally got a break from the dizziness about a month and a half in. I was so happy about that. Started doing good for a week. Leading up to the break in dizziness, I had a clean diet. I didn't do the headache diet. I had just stamped out gluten, dairy, and cheese for the most part on my diet, and I lost like 5 pounds in 1 week. It was crazy. But I noticed after doing that, it was about a week later, that all of a sudden my symptoms started dying down. And it was really great. I still couldn't do a lot of things, but I was starting to get active again. I was playing sand volleyball. I wasn't noticing huge problems. My day-to-day, I was feeling a little bit better. And then I caught a cold and everything relapsed all over again. Dizziness, but I knew it was going to get better this time, so it wasn't quite as bad the second time around. And I'm just now coming out of the second time around, I feel like, and I'm kind of in and out even now. But I do really believe you can get better from this. It's just what I'm noticing is with every relapse, you're going a little bit longer the next time feeling normal. So I've actually had 2 periods of feeling normal since this all started months ago. And with every span of time I had feeling normal, the next time the relapse would happen and I felt good again, it was a little bit longer. So I think that's just kind of how it works with this. So I'm at the point where I'm done dealing with this. I have a life to live, and I'm not going to really put up with this. So I went to a psychiatrist and I got Effexor. So I've done a lot of research on this, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, no, I don't want to do medications, and I even was like that too, but at the same time, there comes a point where the writing's on the wall that I need to feel better quicker, and after I had that 3-hour test of my vestibular, to see how much damage I had, I was prescribed physical therapy, so VRT, and I did that, and I'm still doing that to this day, and it does help. But one of the best ways to really make the most of it is make sure you're doing your exercises at home. It makes a big difference. And also, you want to have a calmness so the anxiety isn't as bad, so you can really kind of focus on the exercises. Depending on how bad your anxiety is with this, mine hasn't been absolutely awful. At the beginning, it was horrifying, but now it's just kind of like it is what it is. So for me, I wanted to get the Effexor, which is the pill I'm on right now, to help me just kind of navigate it all. And Effexor, there's a few different medications that they are prescribing for these types of symptoms. So, for instance, if you have vestibular neuritis and it's more nerve, a lot of times they'll prescribe Cymbalta for the neuritis, because Cymbalta has more of a nerve agent in it that can numb that and settle it down a little bit. So that will decrease the dizziness, that will decrease the symptoms that you're feeling on the daily, and make it more manageable. That is if you aren't allergic to Cymbalta. I know a lot of people have resistance to that pill in particular, but it is what it is. If you can squeeze through it and get used to it, then maybe it can help you. Another one for vestibular migraine is Effexor. And I'm on a bunch of different online forums where people post about it. And I saw a lot of people really have luck with Effexor, extended release. And they usually don't see the effects of it until about 8 weeks in, and at 75 milligrams is when you start seeing the changes for something like vestibular migraine or these dizzy symptoms. So I went ahead and went with the migraine approach. I maybe should have done Cymbalta, I'm not really sure. But I just started Effexor this past week, so I haven't seen any benefit yet from it. Side effects have been extremely mild. I've had a little bit of nausea, and if I eat, I feel okay. I go in and out. When I yawn, I get the shakes for some reason. That's another weird random thing. But it's really mild compared to a lot of what I've read of people when they first start Effexor. So I'm doing great compared to, I'm sure, a lot of other people that have been on this pill. But I really do have high hopes that 8 weeks from now that this might actually start working and bringing down my symptoms as a whole. So this is just kind of my introduction video, and I'm planning on making another video to kind of track my progress, because I'm sick and tired of reading online all the depressing stories about neuritis or vestibular migraine, all these really depressing stories that you'll just read where people have had it for a long time and they never really got better from it, or they go in and out. There is hope. I've read plenty of cases and even talked to people that have had this and have beaten it. So there is hope. I think the main thing, honestly, is really a positive attitude. With this type of thing, it is so easy to just kind of be at your wit's end. I was in a really dark place back when I first had this. And it was just, I thought to myself, man, if I have this the rest of my life, how can I do this? I can't do this. So it's been such a tumultuous journey to get to this place where I am now of having more answers. And it's just been it's been rough, you know. It has not been easy. It's so easy to get in a dark place with this, but you have to trust and know that this will get better. And just like I didn't think I was going to break my dizzy cycle, I did, and I felt normal. So I know I can get normal. I know I can get back to that. It just takes a while. It takes eating right. It takes getting sleep. Oh my gosh, sleep is so important with this. You have to get sleep. If I don't get if I don't get 8 hours at night, I'm a mess. Like even last night, I didn't get that much sleep, and today I really felt the effects of it. So, you know, it just depends on the day. But I am slowly getting better, I believe, and I really do think that. And you know, there is hope with this, and I know when you look online, you'll see a lot of videos of people that are still in the midst of it, and not videos of people that have, you know, broken free from it finally, and they're done with it and they're over it. I've seen a few people that have, and I know you can. It's just, I think a lot of people are just now really starting to realize what vestibular neuritis in the last 4 years and how widely misdiagnosed it is. Dizziness is the #1 thing that's misdiagnosed in the United States. Fun fact: over $1 billion is spent a year in healthcare for it, and I believe there was a 3.8% jump in vertigo-related illnesses, which does mean pharmaceutical companies will pay more attention between 2019 and 2024 to it. So who knows? They might even have more treatments coming with it because it's proven to be more profitable because more people are having issues. That or they're just finally getting diagnosed right. It just kind of depends. But I just wanted to walk through and kind of establish some baselines where I'm at, so when I make more videos in the future, I'll kind of have a good reference point of how far I've come. So, and I've already come pretty far, guys. Like, in the last few months, I just was not going to stand by and let this happen to me and let it take my life. You have to fight back, and you have to accept it. So fighting back is accepting that, yes, something is wrong. Yes, I know just a while ago I was perfectly normal, and now I have this, and it's completely uprooting my life. I mean, I've had to cancel cruises. I was going to be in one of my best friend's wedding because of this, and I couldn't because I didn't want to drive to Louisiana feeling like this, and I couldn't have done it, honestly. So there's been a lot of things I've missed out on because of it, but I refuse to let it get the best of me. I still maintain a great social life. I still maintain my job and moving up in my career, and I just refuse to let something like this hold me back. And I think that's the message you really have to hang on here, that even though in the moment of the pain and the migraine or the dizziness or whatever you're feeling right now symptom-wise, that it will subside. It's just going to take time, and you have to let your body readjust. Give yourself a break. It's going through a lot right now. It knows something's wrong, and it's trying to figure it out, and the best way you can help your body figure it out is to be easy on it and take care of it, and do the therapy, and be a friend to yourself and not an enemy. Don't get into the anxiety circles of, oh, I'm never going to get over this, or oh, this is terrible, because you will. You're going to. It's only a matter of time and dedication, really. So those are just a few words I have regarding it. I've seen already improvement in my own life from it, outside of just the illness. The illness has caused me to have so much more empathy in general. I don't know if you're religious or not, but I'm a Christian, and it's completely changed the way I interact with my Savior and God, and it's really helped me in that regard. So there can be silver linings within the deep abyss of this illness. So whether you have vestibular migraine, vestibular neuritis, MDDS, all the above, labyrinthitis, just know that through dedication, taking care of your body, you can get a control on this, and you can beat it. It's just going to take time and dedication. So I'm looking pretty optimistic. But yeah, if you have any questions, put down in the comments, and I'll try to get to them. But yeah, I was just going to record this for myself, and I figured I might as well share it with the world. So yeah, thanks, guys.